So, in this video, I'm going to be trying to show you how it's possible to take some footage that you've shot on an iPhone or another camera and Syntheyes, and then bring that tracking data into After Effects and into Metashape, and then use Metashape to transfer that data into a format that can be read by Postshot, and then training the splat Gaussian splatting file and bringing that PLY file back into After Effects and combining it with the camera that came from Syntheyes to end up with a result where we can have a Gaussian splat that's fully manipulatable and that matches up with our original shot plate, which in this case looks like this. So this is a video that I shot in Sicily on Mount Etna, and I just basically tracked this and then ran it through the process I just described so that now I can have my Gaussian splat file sitting on top, and you can see that the match is pretty much perfect. Obviously we lose quite a lot of detail in certain places, but it means you can do some cool effects like compositing objects behind other objects in the sort of Gaussian splat scene. And yeah, it's just a nice compositing. Opens up a lot of possibilities of what you can do in comp, because obviously you can use the Gaussian splat to place things behind, or behind like fine details like this bush, for example, which would be very hard to do with rotor work. You can now stick something there, for example, and have it properly sitting in the scene. Maybe it's worth just demonstrating that so it's obvious what the benefits are. I'll just quickly make a new solid. Let's put a checkerboard on it and place it behind here. And now if we go, actually let's make it a 3D. Make it a 3D object. Why not? Treat ourselves as some 3D. Now if I go back a little step, you can see we have our 3D object tracking scene. Obviously this 3D object isn't sitting in the right place, so it's not properly tracking, but that gives you the idea of what's possible with this technique. It allows you to composite objects into the scene that are behind fine details and stuff. Just enables a lot more complex compositing. So yeah, let's get on with the tutorial. So the first thing we're going to do is in Syntheyes, we're going to bring in our footage. I've got the frames that are shown. I'm just going to set it to the right frame rate, and that's all good to go. Press OK. And this isn't really going to be a tracking tutorial because I think that's kind of beyond the scope. But let's just do a very basic auto track on this shot. So first of all, we're just going to hit the run auto tracker, which is just going to give us the default settings in Syntheyes, and you can see it's dropped a couple of tracking points in the shot for us. Now I'm going to go to the features panel, go to advanced, and I'm going to make another set of trackers. So let's make this a bit bigger. I'm going to bump this up to 14 on the small size, and let's say 32 on the big. Now I'm going to flip all frames again, which gives us a different distribution. I'm going to peel them all. It gives us some new tracking points. And then let's do it again. So I'm going to go back to advanced. Let's bump this up again to say 20 by 40 maybe. This will give us some slightly different points again. And peel those again. I've got some more points. And might as well do it one more time. Let's go up to 30 on the large and 30 on the small, 50 on the large. Flips all frames again. Peel all again. Save it as something. Let's call it V2. Cool. So we now have a bunch of tracking data, and let's try and solve this scene. Actually, before we do it, I can see that this tracker is not right because it's sitting on a chairlift that's going up a hill, so that definitely isn't a good tracker. Let's delete that before we go any further. Just quickly check there's not any more silly trackers around here that are obvious. think there's some people climbing this hill over here. They're also shouldn't be tracked, so delete them. And then let's go for a solve. So go to the solver panel, we'll hit an automatic solve and see what we get. Last time I solved this with automatic, it failed. Because I think this shot has quite a lot of stabilization in it, and that's obviously not a very good thing for tracking because it throws the tracker off. So yeah, there's quite a lot of an error on this shot. We're getting 1.1 pixels hpix error, which isn't great, but it's not too bad either. And I think for the sake of this tutorial, so ideally we'd be dealing with a shot without any lens distortion on it, which is kind of an impossible situation in the real world. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm not going to cover lens distortion just because it creates a lot more problems for this pipeline, just because you have to deal with lens distortion throughout the pipeline, and when you're going between 4 different bits of software that all support different models of lens distortion, it does get pretty confusing, and you'd end up with a shot that doesn't match. Basically, it's very hard to get to match. So we're just going to ignore lens distortion here and pretend it doesn't exist in the shot, basically. So I'm just going to quickly clean up some trackers just to get rid of some of the really bad ones. And then we're going to go for a refine on this, see if we can get our error down below 1 pixel. That's pretty good. Maybe we can do another refine and see if we can get it even lower again. Okay, yeah. So we're down below a pixel of error. I mean, if we were going for a super high production value on this shot, we'd probably want to get this even lower. But I think just for the sake of this tutorial, it doesn't really matter that much. So all I'm going to do next is just fix the sort of alignment orientation of the shot. I think I might just move things around a bit. So go to the 3D panel, turn on the hole, and just move it around a bit so it looks a bit more in the center. I think this is in a weird angle here. I'm going to rotate this a little bit here, so it feels a bit more like how I imagined it was when I shot it. I think I was standing upright pretty much when I shot this, so the camera should be upright. And to get that, I think it's around there. That looks about right. Yeah, so once we're happy with the camera path, then we just need to export everything. So we're going to go to the export for After Effects, JavaScript. Just call the file something. I'm just going to save mine into the same location as before, just up the number by 1, so that's my file saved. I'm going to go, add to project. I'll go to new project, run now. Extra scaling, I've got 1,000. It sort of helps in After Effects to go up and scale quite a lot. Force CS centering, I have that turned on, and I have my include trackers on no, so I don't get any trackers. And then I think we go OK. I'm not going to save that project, so let's get done save. So it's dropped the camera in here, and got the footage in the background. So that's that ready to go. So now we're going to go back to Syntheyes again, and we're going to export again. This time we're going to do for Metashape photo scan. Just save that as an XML file, and then inside Metashape we need to bring in our image sequence. So this file is here for me. And then we're going to import cameras. We just exported this file here. And I'm just going to turn on highest. That's all fine. Just whatever those settings are. I'm just going to pause now because it's going to probably take a little minute to do this. Okay, so that's finished processing now. We have our point cloud. We can see there's obviously, there's going to be quite a lot of like floaters here. There's not much you can really do about that. If you delete them, it doesn't seem to do anything in Postshot. So all we're going to do now is go to Tools, Run Script, and we're going to run this script that you can get from GitHub. If you just put it in the description, but basically it's just a script from Metashape that when you run it, it makes this little scripts drop down here. So we go export for call map, And we just change it. We leave everything the same. We just turn off this use local frame. That's going to help us keep our coordinate system working. So we just hit export, and you want to save that somewhere. I've already done this, so I'm just going to move on to the next step, which is to open Postshot and drag it in. So we're just going to drag in the file we just exported into here, and I'm going to leave it on use all images, and I'm going to turn off this downsampling, and then we're going to hit import, and that's basically going to bring in all the images and start processing. And at this point, my microphone is probably going to get a lot worse because my GPU is going to start ramping up on this laptop, which is quite loud. But you can see here we can view our data set through our cameras, and you can see it starts to train. I'm not going to train this again now because I've already trained it once before, and if I turn on the turbo mode on my GPU, it's going to be so loud you can't hear me. So I'm just going to leave that to stop there. But one bit of advice I would have here is to probably delete some of these points that are up here around the camera early on in the training, so that it doesn't waste time training those points which are clearly in the wrong places. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's as soon as we do this and start training again, once we hit start again, it's going to start building them again. So this is just the problem with this workflow. I haven't really worked out why deleting points here doesn't delete them here, but that's just a bug, or I don't know. Don't know how to fix that really. If anyone knows, please write in the comments. So yeah, once this is done training, you want to just export as a PLY file. So I've already done that. I've got my PLY file here, and then inside After Effects, we're going to bring that PLY file in, which is this one. For me, I just trained that one, and then I'm going to drop it down here. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to drop in a solid as well on top, and I'm going to put this. I tried using the Postshot tool. I didn't have any luck with it. I don't know why this Postshot plugin doesn't work very well. I'm using the Gaussian Splatting tool from irrealix, which works much better. So I drop that on there, and I select the PLY file here, and then you'll see it pop in. There it is. And we have an XY up issue here, so we just need to rotate the x-axis to fix that. And now you can see we are looking at our Gaussian splat here. So this is our Gaussian splat, and this is our footage. And you can see they're pretty similar. Obviously, if we trained this for longer, it'd look a lot better. But the good thing is that it all lines up perfectly. So we now have two data sets perfectly aligned, and that's very satisfying. And it means you can move on with the compositing you need to do, or playing with all these cool effects and settings that you have here. Even just the crop looks really cool in my mind. Oopsie, that's the wrong thing. The crop is here. You can turn this on, and yeah, go wild with these settings. Just like growing this splat looks pretty cool. But yeah, that's essentially the end of the tutorial. If anyone knows any better solutions for this workflow, I mean, obviously the best solution would be to export the cameras straight from Postshot into here. I've written to Jasha, the developer of Postshot, to ask him if he can implement that feature. But yeah, it is what it is, and hopefully this was helpful. And yeah, good luck.